Chris Hogg here at Innovation Week in Calgary, and I'm joined by Daniel Clarke, the CEO of CSV Midstream Solutions. Daniel, thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here.
I want to talk about creating shared value.
Nice.
Uh,
Favorite topic.
You baked it into the DNA of your company, but there might be people that don't know what creating shared value is. So maybe you could explain it to us, and why did you make it a pillar, a principle for what you do?
Sure. Great. So in the next 3 hours, what I was literally creating shared value. I came by it honestly. I'm born and raised in a small town, northern BC, and this whole idea of respecting the planet, respecting people that are different from you, and certainly respecting the economy went hand in hand. And so I kind of grew up with it honestly. I was fortunate enough to take an executive education program at Harvard Business School where I learned about this theory of creating shared value. And it was all around the idea of how do you do sustainable development in emerging economies? And you're like, hey, Canada is an emerging economy. And it's really about bringing big industry either into an area that hasn't had it before, that's the emerging economies, or in areas where it has not had it in a generation or more. And that's the big thing with Canada, is that for 40 years, our industry has been in steep decline. And in the last couple of decades, all of a sudden we've had this steep incline, and people have, never experienced new development, new industry coming in right in their backyards. And Canada was caught off guard with that. And so that's really where it kind of grew from, is that experience.
So you're looking to create value for a bunch of different stakeholders, kind of a win-win-win for everyone, and doing good. Now, creating shared value is not a new concept, but you've brought it to the energy space.
Yeah.
How does it play out in energy? How does it come to life?
There's no other industry on the planet that builds itself on relationships, like the oil and gas industry, like energy. It's really about how people connect and get along to get things done. And what I saw, again, at the time that I was taking this, was a lot of disconnect between the communities that we were impacting and the industries that we're trying to develop it. And there did not seem to be a bridge between them. And the shared value theory, which really starts about how do you engage people, how do you introduce them to who you are, and most importantly, how do you get to know who they are and what's important to them, was just like, there was this impetus that I thought, hey, this makes perfect sense. This is the way that big industry should be doing it. And so that's really where it began.
So if we could talk about the balance, because you've got a bunch of different perspectives and approaches.
Yeah.
How do you navigate the balance between profitability and societal benefit? How do you work with stakeholders? How do those things come together?
Yeah, great question. So the whole idea behind shared value is this whole idea of creating relationships, creating connections with the community. And when you do that, you build those relationships and they come authentically and you're connected with them. It's really about, hey, what in my tool truck, my products and services can help address the issues and challenges that you've had with the industry. And that's where the magic begins, is because all of a sudden you start learning and connecting with these communities, and you start to say, hey, how can I offset the impact that I'm having against you in a way such that you benefit and ultimately it can benefit me? For example, our sour water technology that we developed came from some of our engineers who were like, hey, this is wrong that we're disposing of this sour water. Like, surely to goodness we can do something about it. We came up with some creative technologies, and the landowners are like, hey, you're not going to have to draw off of fresh water anymore. You can start recycling this back up to 98-99% of the water that we use in frac operations. We can now recycle back with the technology that we've developed. And it started because the community was saying, hey, we don't like all this fresh water being pulled from our community. And we were like, hey, how do we figure out how to fix that and do things differently?
So creating shared value, like we're at Innovation Week, and
Yeah.
everyone's talking about ecosystems, and we move out of silos and we think about working together or trying new things. You've just mentioned your water sweetening or moving away from sour water.
Yeah.
How is the creating shared value approach, how does it allow you to innovate?
Yeah.
Does it change the mindset?
Yeah, it really does, because every day when we're interacting, as you can respect that everybody in this room has a different idea of what's important to them, different issues that they're experiencing. And so when we're out there meeting the community, dealing with the landowners, dealing with the First Nations, Indigenous, they all got different issues. And Mr. Crawford, who you mentioned before, is coming back to us going, here's some issues. And we're like, okay, let's figure out. So we intentionally created what we call an energy efficiency manager, but really his true role is to be the skunkworks, to be the incubator of new ideas, new challenges. We feed it to him. He goes out there, looks around, looks for new creative ideas on which we can first and foremost deal and address the issues that people are facing, and then otherwise try to connect it through this experience of social issue, products and services, scalability, and ultimately we have a new business proposition. And that's really, again, the sour water technology. It's going to be a huge business opportunity for us, but it started with caring about the environment, caring about the communities that we impact.
And that's interesting. You mentioned Mr. Crawford or Mike Crawford, who you gave the role of creating shared value.
You bet.
When you build relationships, I think my last question here is around timescales, because some of the companies here have to build fast, fail fast. You work on really different timelines where you go into a community, you have multi-decade relationships.
You betcha.
How do you measure something over such a long period of time to know it's working?
Yeah, if you look at any of the studies around sustainability and where they compare companies that focus on it and companies that don't, and they look at like blue chip companies, it takes years to see any kind of differentiation. But after sort of that 7 to 10 years, there's a direct correlation change where the sustainability companies take off. And that's because you have to trust the process. You have to trust the process that if you spend enough time with somebody, you and me become good buddies. After a while, we're going to come up with creative ideas because the two become a magnifying effect better than the sum of the parts. And that's really what we're talking about here, is the community has so many great ideas, so many great issues that they're trying to deal with, and we're trying to bring in there and magnify that, but it takes time, and you got to trust the process. We've been doing this now just about 10 years, and we're just starting to see these buds pop up all over the place. Like I said, I truly could spend 3 hours telling you about the amazing things that we're doing. We had an environmentalist tell us, no, you're not doing anything with us. We came back, and because of 3 or 4 conversations that people in our organization had around shared value, we had lawyers that were defending them, advocating for us to their landowners, saying, hey, these guys got some great ideas that can help deal with the issues that you've been suffering with.
So you're creating champions by building relationships.
That's it. That is exactly it.
Daniel, thank you for sharing your story about CSV Midstream Solutions.
Really appreciate the time.
For more information on innovation, what CSV Midstream Solutions is up to, and the innovation, amazing things happening this week in Calgary, join us at digitaljournal.com.